おはようございます。Well, good morning to all of you, and a most auspicious day it is. We are celebrating and also remembering, noting uh, several things today. First off, in Japan, it is April 8th, will be Hana Matsuri, or Bushoe, which means the celebration of the Buddha's birth, or the flower Matsuri, for reasons we'll talk about. Uh, that's what this little fellow represents. I brought this guy from Lumbini when I was in India and Nepal a couple of years ago, and it represents the baby Buddha. And this is the opportunity we have to remember that the Buddha was born. But the question, here's the koan, where was he born and when? And if you say it was there and back then, aha, I've just given away my whole talk. No need for it now. We also are celebrating an auspicious time in our Sangha, Shingen, Kyonin, who are here. Shokai is at a birthday party for his dear loved one, but he is here in heart and he will join us later. They have received a Dharma transmission, and the line continues in our Sangha. This is vital. This is the reason that we are here all this 2,500 years from the time of the baby Buddha, because it continued generation to generation and fool to fool. And yet we stumble along, don't we? We are also here because life is not only always joyous. Seishin, we dedicate today to his mother who has passed from this visible world, and to all his family. There are other people in our Sangha and everywhere who are suffering loss and illness. What this fellow spoke about is samsara. Today will be dedicated to all of them, of course. And good to see so many good faces here. Hi, guys. Give me a wave. Well, shall we just get into it? What do you say?
Hey.
Or shall we grab a deck of cards and maybe have a online poker game?
No.
Got a choice. Okay, well, let's sit. I think it's decided. If you've been here before, you know what to do. And if it's your first time, just follow along. Let's go. One moment.
마카하냐 하라미타 신요 가지사리보사주묘진환야하라미에다 이쇼겐고 주소교시기무 젠미비제신니 무시기쇼고미 소호무젠카이나이시 무이시기카이무무묘 야구무무묘 젠나이시무 로시야구무로시 진무쿠슈메츠두 무지야구무도고이 무쇼토고보 나사타에 안야하라미타 고신무 가이기무 Yukufu Wandri Isaidendumu Soku Gyoni Panza Jesho Buzui Anya Haramita Kotoko Anokotara Samyaku Sambudai Kuchi Anya Haramita Zaidai Jinshu Zaidai Myoshu Zaimu Joshu Zaimu Dudo Shunojo Isaiku Shinjitsuku Kogo Setsu Hanya Paramita Shu Soko Setsu Shu Watsukate Gate Paragate Parasogate Oji Sawaka Hanya Shingyo. The identity of relative and absolute. The mind of the great sage of India is intimately conveyed west and east, while human faculties are both wise or dull in the way there are northern or southern ancestors. The subtle shore shines clear in the light, the branching streams flow in the dark. To be attached to things is primordial illusion. To encounter the absolute is not yet enlightenment. All spheres, every sense and feel, intermingling even as they shine alone, interacting even as they merge, yet keeping their places and expressions of their own. Sights differ primarily in shape and character, and sounds in harsh or soothing tones. The dark makes all words one. The brightness distinguishes good and bad phrases. The four elements return to their true nature as a child turns to its mother. Fire is hot, water is wet, wind moves, and the earth is dense. Eye and form, ear and sound, nose and smell, tongue and taste, the sweet and sour, each independent of the other, like leaves that come from the same root. And though leaves and roots must go back to the source, both root and leaves have their own uses. Light is also darkness, but do not think of it as darkness. Darkness is light, do not see it as light. Light and darkness are not one, not two, like the foot before and the foot behind in walking. Each thing has its own being, which is not different from its place and function. The relative fits the absolute as a box and its lid. The absolute meets the relative like two arrow points that touch in midair. Hearing this, simply perceive what is, make no criterion. If you do not see the way, you do not see it, even as you walk upon it. Walking forward in the way, you draw no nearer, progress no further. One who fails to see this truth is mountains and rivers away. Listen, those who would perceive this subtle matter. Live well your time by night and day. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, reality existing right here and now, in reciting the heart of the perfection of wisdom and the identity of relative and absolute. We dedicate our sincere efforts to Shakyamuni Buddha, honored one, the historical Buddha and teacher, and to those ancestral teachers, Heihei Dogen, honored one, Soji Keizon, honored one, all successive honored ones up until Zuigaku Rempo, honored one, and Guro Wafu, honored one, and to all other honored ones throughout history, male and female honored ones whose names have been forgotten or left unsaid. We also dedicate these efforts to the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, to all awakened ones and teachers in all places and time. We especially seek tranquil and well-being for all creatures now suffering or ill in health. May they be serene through all their ills. May their lives be at peace and wisdom pervade the darkness of ignorance. We dedicate our hopes and aspirations to all victims of war and violence and natural events, to the injured and to all families touched by these tragedies, to the healing of hatred in all countries and among all people, to the wisdom and compassion of our world leaders, to the peace of the world and harmony of all beings. Thus let the harmful effects of words, thoughts, and actions be dispelled, and compassion bloom in perpetual spring. May we all realize and live the enlightened way together. Om Buddhas throughout space and time. Om Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Maha Prajna, Paramita.
Zazen? Zazen. We will have a long kinhin. You can put on heat too. Inner heat. We will have a talk and zazen. Everybody take a few minutes to stretch, make yourself comfortable, come over, sit, have some tea. You can sit zazen during the talk or just sit and listen. Neil, I have a request. Neil, our member of the Blue Man Group, is there any chance you can switch your camera on so we can see you? Unless that's actually what you look like. We're going to have the verse to open the sutra as well. Do we need some light or we're okay? I think we're okay. Oh, here, there are two papers. One has the traditional story of the Buddha's birth, which is pretty wild. I'm going to talk about it. And then there are some talks by Master Cohen, that was a Freudian stuff, Master Dogen, which are kind of riff on that. So that's what a lot of the references to white elephants in the sky and things like that. Oh, please, please, please. Oh, what's it called? Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Can I save a piece for later?
Yes, sure, please.
Yeah, I'm going to report to give a talk. Please, please. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear okay? Good. I'm very content to say that 3 months or 4 months after my surgery, I was back with the prostrations today. I didn't have confidence about that a couple of months ago, but no problem. Okay? All right. Maybe we have the verse to open the sutras?
The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning. The Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is always encountered yet rarely perceived. Now we see, hear, receive, and maintain this. May we all realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Well, happy birthday. It is an auspicious day. Some 2,500 years ago, nobody's exactly sure when, it is said that the Buddha, Shakyamuni, Gautama Buddha, the sage of the Shakya clan, the Shakyamuni, was born in Nepal, which is at the time India. And of course, when was that? Where was that? Here, there, always. I've just given my talk, so I guess I could end it here. That's really the whole point of the story. But there's quite a fantastic legend that goes with it. I've posted it. It involves a mother who had a vision of a white six-tusked elephant that appeared in her dream and flew into her side. And lo and behold, a little while later, there was a virgin birth. I'm saying, there's a lot of similarity in different religions. The legends here, are they true? Are they historical? They're true in our heart. It was someone's trying to say that this was a special time with all kinds of symbolism. And when I was in India, about 2 years ago now, I saw white six-tusked elephants at many of the Hindu temples. It's part of the special decoration. And the Jain temples, another religion there that's similar in many ways to Buddhism. What does it mean? I could tell you what I think it means, but I'd be lying. I have no idea. I think it just meant a special symbol, as a lot of the symbolism in this story, of a baby who was born walking and talking, with dragons raining pure water from the heavens and flowers drifting down. And that baby, walking and talking, took 7 steps and said, "Heaven above and earth beneath." This is what he's saying there he's pointing up there. And down. You see, one hand down, one hand up. Heaven above and earth beneath. I am the honored one, the one who liberates all who suffer in the 3 realms. Now, there are various versions of this. And I'll tell you, some people think it got transferred or transposed from the Buddha's enlightenment story. which is in December. We celebrate he was sitting under the Bodhi tree and he realized enlightenment. And as soon as he did that, he said something. Now, this is one version where he says, heaven above, earth beneath, I am the honored one. Because he's a very respected figure in our religion, you know. But the version I prefer is the other one, which says, above and below, all are enlightened with me. I am the honored one, and so are you, and the stars, and the mountains. We are all, this world is the honored one. That's the version I care for. But here, we have this great tale. His mother died a few days later. He was raised by his aunt, a stepmother. It was predicted to his father that he would either be a great leader, political leader, or a great sage. And I think you know the rest of the story. The father tried to, like, you know, many of our fathers tried to get him into the family business, push him into, you know, taking over. And, you know, kids are kids. He snuck out one night, you know, and joined some, you know, group with robes and the whole thing, went off to India to find himself, man. It was like the 60s. In any event, what we're going to read today is Master Dogen's riffing on that story I just told you, with the flowers and the dragons and the elephants. These were a series of annual talks, I suppose. We don't have all of them. That are from a book called the Eihei Koroku, which is very different from the Shobogenzo. The Shobogenzo, which I read here several times, is usually him really free-forming. The Eihei Koroku is a collection of his more standard talks, plus other things. The poems are in there, the Fukan Zazengi is in there, where traditionally in Buddhism, the form is very stylized. Zen masters actually were very predictable in how they would do these talks. I think they did them twice a month and on special days. The kinds of things they would say, the kinds of gestures they would make. For example, you'll see him draw a circle in the air. Sometimes it could turn into just, as you say in painting, mannerism, just copying the old style. But the point of much Zen training, as I've told you before, is to find freedom in the form. So, like the good Renaissance painter, they were all painting the same Jesus, they were all painting the same colors, but they would find their freedom within the rules and restrictions. There was much here too. And Dogen, I think, was really speaking from his heart. You know, this is crazy old Dogen coming through, even though the form is very structured. The first talk we have, the Dharma Hall Discourse of 1241. Today, my original teacher, Shakyamuni Tathagata, the thus come one. He comes from thusness, he goes to thusness, the Tathagata. Descended to be born at Lumbini Park. We say he descended because we believe the Buddhas originally are in the Tushta heaven, in traditional Buddhist belief, which is a heaven. And when the time is right, they descend. Now, one of the reasons the story is like this with a walking, talking Buddha is there's quite kind of a debate in Buddhist belief. Some people said he was a human being who was born, who became the Buddha after searching and finding it. Then the other school says, no, he's always been the Buddha. He is the Buddha. Thousands of years before, millions of years before, kalpas, we say, endless eras before, he was the Buddha, or he became the Buddha, and he was born already enlightened, and just went through the whole story to teach us. That's where this comes from, that he's a walking, talking, grown-up, enlightened, already enlightened being at his birth, you see. So he was in Tushta heaven, already all ready to go, and he descended. Tell me whether the great sage is born or not. If you say he has descended to be born, I grant you have done one portion of practice. In other words, you understand part of the story. If you say he has not descended to be born, I grant you have done one other portion of practice. If you are already like this, and I'll continue in a second, I believe this is the story you hear me speak about month after month, is we're born and we die, but yet we do not. Because there is Tathagata, no coming, no going from thusness. The Buddha is the wave that arrives. The Buddha is the wave that returns. The Buddha and you and me are the sea. So when the wave arose and the Buddha descended, was he born? If you say yes, you've got part of it. And if you say not really, then you've got part of it. You see, because the Buddha is the wave arising, the wave that fades, and the sea. And so are you, and so are me, and so is, if I may say, Seishin's mother, who passed away, if I may impose our beliefs on her passing. That's why I often say we pass from this visible world. We pass, yet in Buddhism, we are still this world, the sea. So he continues, if you are not obstructed by mountains or oceans, are you obstructed by birth or not? If you can see the wholeness of the sea, what mountains, what oceans to bind you? Even if you are not obstructed by mountains or oceans, are you obstructed by birth or not? I missed a line. If you are already like this, you are not obstructed by mountains or oceans and will be born to a king's palace like Shakyamuni Buddha. Even if previous Buddhas and ancestors say that they are obstructed by birth, today this mountain monk, Dogen, simply says that I am not obstructed by birth. If we are not obstructed by mountains and oceans and are not obstructed by birth, all people in the entire earth, in the entire universe, are born together with Shakyamuni Tathagata and say, above the heavens and below the heavens, I alone am the world honored one. See, that's what I said before. I knew where this story was going. I alone am the world honored one. And that means you and me and the whole world and the mountains and the oceans. After taking 7 steps in 10 directions, 10 directions means every place, all possible directions. Why did he take 7 steps? I didn't have time to check this before I came today. I'm sure there are many interpretations that have found great significance, but I cannot recall why it's 7. But it doesn't matter really, because 7 here is the 10 directions, all places, all times. This statement was the lion's roar and the baby's crying. How do you express such a manifestation? After a pause, Dogen said, in the entire universe and pervading the heavens, good fortune arrives. The grandmotherly intimate heart is expressed by the sage's descent to birth. That's a sign of compassion, caring, the grandmother heart, right? How can we make offerings, serve, make prostrations and bathe to celebrate the sage's descent to birth? It's traditional. As I said, dragons poured water, or they say some sages, the 3 wise men showed up following the star. It's a very similar story. And they saw the little baby and they were brought the spices. And in this case, they poured tea. And so if you go to many Buddhist temples today in Japan, you will see that some of them have this statue, almost exactly the same, and people come and pour sweet tea on the statue. It's a custom in Japan. Now, Hana Matsuri, this festival, is not big in Japan. If you go down to Thailand, maybe, it's Mardi Gras. It's a big thing. If you go to Korea and some other places, it's a big holiday. Why it has not become a big holiday in Japan? I think there are many reasons having to do with the suppression of Buddhism over the years and the fact that it was not emphasized. I really don't know. But if you went to temples, they have a very quiet ceremony, and some people, the parishioners, will come and pour sweet tea over the baby Buddha. Together with the pure great ocean assembly, let us enter the Buddha hall and perform the ceremony. Okay? That was 1241. Jumping ahead 5 years. My root teacher, great master Shakyamuni Buddha, 3,000 years ago this morning, descended from the heavens and took birth in Lumbini. As you can see, he said 3,000 years. They really were a little fuzzy on the dates, and the historians still are. Some say he was not even really a historical figure. I think there was someone. My feeling, just there's too much evidence. But they more or less guessed by about 100, 150 years either way. When I went to Nepal, there were two cities fighting over which is Lumbini. You know, one is in India, one is in Nepal. And of course, there's a big rivalry between the Nepalis and the Indians, and they all have their evidence. It seems that most people agree it's probably the Nepali location, but the Indians are saying, no, we're the real Lumbini, and we should get the tourist business. He was born as the son of King Sodana. He took 7 steps to the 10 directions, pointed one hand to the heavens and one hand to the earth, looked to the 4 directions and said, above the heavens and below the heavens, I alone am the Venerable One. The teacher Dogen said, great assembly, do you want to see the birth of the world honored one? Dogen held up his whisk and drew the enso in the air. Our sign of emptiness, which I often, you've heard me say, you're an old visitor here now, you've heard this emptiness is also our great fullness and wholeness, where all things come and all things arise and all things return and is all things. For our podcast listeners, he is now drawing a very dramatic enso in the sky. Dogen said, the world-honored one has been born in the entire world in 10 directions, in mountains, rivers, and lands, all the human beings and all sentient or insentient beings. That was Dogen saying that even the insentient, a part of this story, are alive. And all Buddhas in the 3 times in the 10 directions, all have been born simultaneously with Gautama, the world-honored one. Not one thing is born before or after that. What is the reason for this? It is because the world-honored one receives Daibutsu's taking birth and takes birth. Now, what is this Daibutsu? Daibutsu means big Buddha, like we have in the next town here. The great big Buddha is Ushku Daibutsu. We have a giant Buddha in the next town called the Daibutsu. But this Daibutsu can mean a couple of things. This time, Dogen was just creating Eiheiji Monastery, his big monastery. But the name was not yet Eiheiji. It was Daibutsuji, Great Buddha Monastery. And the abbot of Daibutsuji is known as Daibutsu. Like I am Tree Leaf. Technically, an old way of speaking, I would refer to myself, Tree Leaf now draws a circle in the air, because I am Tree Leaf. But so this may say, Dogen was the Buddha here. Because in the old days, the abbot, I don't get respect like this at all, believe me, even from my own students. But the abbot took the place of the Buddha statue, was the Buddha. So sometimes he would sit there and take on the persona really of the guru, and he would the Buddha come to life, you see. So Dogen sometimes was talking that way. He said, I'm here, guys. I'm representing this. Or the Daibutsu might mean the great sea, the great ocean, too, which is the great Buddha. So it's not clear which one Dogen's referencing here. Maybe both. Not one thing is born before or after that. What is the reason? It is because the world-honored one receives Daibutsu's taking birth and takes birth, receives Daibutsu's legs and takes 7 steps, and receives Daibutsu's open mouth and then says, above the heavens and below the heavens. I alone am the vulnerable one. There's a saying that when you move your eyes, it is the Buddha's moving his eyes. When you walk, it is the Buddha's walking. Maybe something like that. Ultimately, I should further state, not receiving any sensation is what is called true receiving or samadhi. If this is so, drops of water do not fall in different places. This is based on the translation of the Eihei Koroku by the wonderful Shohaku Okamura and Taigen Dan Layton. And they had a footnote on this, which was very helpful. And here is the basic idea as I understood it, as they explained it. You get many sensations from the outside world, in our brain. And we judge them positive, negative, and neutral. Part of our Zen practice is to drop judgments of the positive, the negative, and the neutral. Not to find nothing, but to find, again, this wonderful, takes it all in. Okay? Your life, some negative, a lot of positive, some things neutral. When we sit Zazen, all is received and not received because we drop the judgments. And that wholeness is what is called true receiving. That's samadhi, where it all comes together in this wondrous something that sweeps in the negative, the positive, that we receive through our sensations is true receiving. That's what is here. And if it's not, don't blame me. That's what Taigen and Okamura said. I'm just blame them. They got it. I'm just repeating what they said. So if they got it wrong, not my fault. But I think they got it right. Now, if this is so, drops of water do not fall in different places. And again, the drops of water, like the dew on the grass, represents all the separate things of the world. Right? But if it's all swept into that wholeness, that true receiving, all the separate things are not so separate. I think that's what this means. Not receiving any receiving of sensation is what is called true receiving or samadhi. If this is so, drops of water do not fall in separate places. What is the principle of not falling in different places? Go to page 2. After a pause, Dogen said, if we do not transmit the Dharma and save living beings, our practice cannot be considered to repay the kindness of Buddha. What is the principle of transmitting Dharma and repaying kindness? I will descend from the seat and together with the great assembly, go to the Buddha hall and respectfully bathe the pure Dharma body of the Tathagata Buddha. Okay? One more. Must have been hard on Dogen. I said it was very formalized, but again, he can't give the same, maybe he gave the same talk every year. That's why we're skipping years here. And these days, if you try to do this too much, if you just go with the form and if I just came in here and said, here's my talk, circle in the air, the Buddha is born, let us sit. If I did that, you'd go. So my job is I have to make up an original talk every month. And yet, as these guys know, because they've been sitting here, and some of you, boy, he still repeats himself all the time. Jundo always says the same thing. I come here to get something new, and he's always on about the same thing, the ocean and the waves. Nothing. I'm afraid I have nothing more to tell you. You've heard it all. You heard one of these Dogen talks. You've heard all the Dogen talks, if you really understand what it says. Okay, 1247. Here is a story. Now, sometimes Zen masters could really get things upside down, and it could be a little shocking here. because they say, don't, we're talking about the beauty and the flowers from the sky and the magnificent baby. And the Zen masters want to say, don't be so quick to confuse beauty with beauty and ugliness with ugly. Let's see what happens here. Hongzhi was our great ancestor in the Soto lineage. He was not a direct line from Dogen, but he was the abbot of Tiantang Monastery where Dogen studied. And he's kind of our uncle. And he's considered to be one of the main founders of silent illumination meditation, which is kind of the forerunner of Dogen's style of Shikantaza. It's like the relationship of jujitsu to judo. It's changed a little, but Hongzhi is our main man here. When Zen Master Hongzhi was abbot at Tiantang, he said in a Dharma Hall discourse on this day of Buddha's birthday, when the pure water of the emptiness of self-nature and the radiant body of the Dharma realm are only faintly distinguished, then this person is born. Without cleansing the dust from the body, because of this water's wonderful touch, he expresses clear realization. I ask you, for many years he has been departed, so how can he return to be near us today? On this day, this is still Hongzhi talking, on this day, 2,000 years ago, he pointed to heaven and to earth and gave the lion's roar. Master Yumen, another famous Zen master, remained at war while thinking about great peace by saying that he would kill the baby Buddha and assuredly feed him to the dogs. Now, Yumen, who also, I believe, is the master who was asked, what is Buddha? And said, the Buddha is a piece of crap or a shit stick. That's a famous saying by our highly venerated ancestor, Master Yumen, who, when he was asked, what is the Buddha, said, oh, the Buddha is shit. And now he says, oh, the great birth of the Buddha. I would kill that baby Buddha. Please, not literally. We're talking figuratively here. And feed him to the dogs. Why do Zen masters say this? When he says the Buddha is shit, he says, don't think that the most crude and ugly thing in this world is anything but that. That ocean, that beauty when you can see. And if you get attached to a Buddha who is only beautiful, I'll put something crude and violent in your eyes to show you that you need to see through that too. Of course, he would not literally kill. A monk has a vow not to do violence, not to take sentient life. He would not literally do this. He means kill your image of a Buddha statue to find the real thing. Okay? On the other hand, Dogen seems to still was a little critical of this. So Hongzhi continues after this, feed him to the dogs. This is pointing east and calling it west, or Hongzhi is critical of Yumen. It's getting confusing. So Dogen is relating Hongzhi, who is critical, seems maybe a little of Yumen's violent image. This is pointing east and calling it west. In other words, getting it backwards. Making non-existence into existence. Although I pour foul water on you, don't get angry. Now that I see you, how will you accept it? Buddha said, not receiving any sensation is called right receiving. Again, the same thing. You take that ugly sensation, you take the beautiful sensation, you take the neutral sensations and mix them all together and you get what I would call the great beauty. The great beauty. Because it's not just empty. Okay? If you practice like this, each drop falls on earth exactly on the same spot. Okay? So this is how Zen masters talk sometimes. They would try to shock because they wanted to teach you to see through this. We don't feed the baby Buddha to the dogs. The teacher Dogen said, although the ancient Buddha Hongzhi said it like this, how would Eihei, that's me, Dogen, speak of the true meaning of this birthday? Dropping off the body within the 10,000 forms, naturally he had the conditions for this birth. In the single color, after transforming the body, he saw the vital path afresh. What is the meaning of our bathing the Buddha? After a pause, Dogen said, holding together our own broken wooden ladle, we pour water on his hand to bathe the body of the Tathagata. The wooden ladle is something imperfect. We take our imperfect, broken thing. We take our imperfect, broken life. We take our imperfect, broken world, and yet we find the beauty and magnificence of pouring clear water on the Buddha. Something like that. That's why the ladle is broken. Okay, we'll go to the last here. Almost the last. There was one more in the book after this I didn't take, but this is 2 years before Dogen's death now. He died in 1253. So he's kind of old, sick, and cranky at this point. But still, this year he had to take that trip I talked about, I think, last time, where he was called to meet the shogun. He didn't want to go, and he came home, and then he's not feeling well. He had stomach troubles like me, and he didn't have a good, stomach doctor like I have. So unfortunately, he didn't make it past the age of 53. So this was 2 years before his death, and he said, on this day, living beings find their father and manage the family business. That's just by chance. I made a family business joke in there. I forgot this was in here. Family business, taking over the family business. Sages see their teacher and become cheerful. It's springtime. It's beautiful. That's the image here. It's also April there was just as beautiful as April here, you know. Hibernating insects must be glad for the present auspicious happiness. As the spring proceeds, we increasingly love the thundering voice. I guess it means April showers will bring May flowers. The thundering voice. Who says that he descends from Tush to heaven? Why does only Maya, Shakyamuni's mother, have a sacred womb? The sacred womb, Buddha's mother, is you, me, and everyone, this whole world. With virtue and wisdom as abundant as the sands of the Ganges River, in the great thousands of worlds, the Adumbra blossoms. Infinite worlds and worlds. The Adumbra is a flower that rarely blooms. I think it's once every 1,000 years. So what he's saying is the birth of a Buddha, or hearing this message, is as rare as rare can be, and precious. Yet we hear it. We hear this message. Although this principle is as such, how is the house of patch-robed monks? How is our Sangha? After a pause, Dogen said, destroying emptiness and tearing apart existence brings inexhaustible benefit. This world of existence and then the emptiness, throw that away and throw this away, and you'll find the real birth of Buddha. Through playing with a monk's staff, another branch sprouts. Happy birthday. And Adrian, you brought a Spanish cake for us, so we're going to actually have they've enjoyed some birthday cake today. Are there any questions? Something, somewhere? Anybody?
We have to hear the talking.
You have to hear it again?
Yes.
Yes, every time you come. I try to make it fresh. I just saw a wonderful documentary on a guru. I'll tell you who it was. It was the Rajneesh. And someone wrote an article and said, why was the Rajneesh so popular? And he's very controversial. You know the Rajneesh? He ran kind of let's say a sex cult. It was very wild. And they ended up plotting murder plots to kill politicians who were threatening their commune. And the Rajneesh sat in the middle of it. And people love it. And to this day, people love the Rajneesh. They think it's just the people around him did all these bad things. But he had a couple of tricks that this article discussed. And I said, I actually thought for a second, well, maybe I should, try this. Number one is he had the beautiful, sweet, soft voice. He always spoke like a radio DJ on the evening listening channel at midnight. And perhaps if I gave my talks more like this, it would hypnotize you all. And then he would always say things. Maybe Dogen was doing this too, a little. If you say things that are kind of hard to understand, people understand them in their hearts. The moon is in the seventh house, and Jupiter aligns with Mars. And people would say, and then the Rajneesh even found that that's so good. I'm going to become totally silent. And then people could find in me just whatever they wished. And he would sit there. He had a blue, beautiful face and just smile and bow. And he'd sit there. People would look at him and think, you see? So maybe this will be my new policy at Tree Leaf. I will now have the new Jundo voice. I will say things that nobody understands. And we will turn into a sex cult. No, I'm just kidding about that. This is the time of day when things get a little crazy. Please excuse me. Anything at all.
Jundo,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Neil. I'm actually on here twice, so I thought I'd say hello.
Ah, it's very Buddhist where you can appear twice in one place. You have a question, Neil?
No, it was just to say hello, seeing as you wanted to see my face. So I'm actually the blue man, and I'm the one who keeps calling himself Neil.
Now that is a koan. I am the one that's called Neil, yet I am the blue man. Anything else, guys? All right. Oh, yes, Sekshi.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I think actually tonight in Japan, that it is Saturn and Mars that are aligning with the moon. So it's not Jupiter. I got the reference, but there really is an alignment tonight.
It is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Okay, I got to peek around the corner in the Buddha here to see if anyone, because there are a couple of you tucked in the corner here. Anybody at all? We all good? Yes, Kyonin, our new priest here at
Thank you, Jindo.
fully a made man priest here. Yes, Kyonin.
I have been thinking about Buddha's birthday, and to be honest, I'm not quite comfortable bathing the baby's Buddha's figure. I was not comfortable with the idea because here, because of Catholic influence, people do bathe baby Jesus figure every December in Christmas. But this morning in Zazen, I realized that we can actually bathe baby Buddha's body with sweetness, but it means perhaps kindness and compassion to other people and to other sentient beings. So maybe I say this because I know there may be some other people uncomfortable with the idea of bathing a figure that might remind us of Christianity. But I think maybe we can actually bathe the Buddha with compassion and kindness, and that could translate to bathe the whole world around us with compassion and kindness, and sweetness.
Yeah, I'm in full agree. As you know, as you can tell, I'm a minimalist on a lot of ceremony and ritual. And when there are these legends, I say, well, you find it in your heart. But these are universal symbols, not of people need to express their feeling inside of something sacred in these very tangible ways, with a statue, with pouring liquid. People in Japan, if they have pains, they'll go up to the statue, rub the statue, and then touch their body where it hurts. Like if I have a headache, I will touch the head of the Buddha statue and then my head to try. People need this all over the world. So it's beautiful. Find what you need to express this to yourself. Anything more? Okay, shall we have the verse to close the sutras?
May the merits of these teachings penetrate into each thing in all places, so that we and every sentient being together may realize the Buddha's way. All Buddhas throughout space and time. All Bodhisattvas, Mahasattva, Maha, Prajna, Paramita.
All right, we will have a super short zazen. You can sit where you're sitting if you wish, remembering that zazen is not always a matter of long or short. We will also have a short kinhin. The kinhin comes and goes to where the Buddha came from and went on his birthday. That's a koan. It's hokey pokey time. By the way, I love your Buddhist robes with the Swiss flag. It's beautiful, beautiful. Now, I have to confess, I forgot to look through the hokey pokey I was looking for today. So today's going to be a kind of a oldies but goldies. I have to confess, my favorite hokey pokey of all time was in Indonesian. So we will now dance the hokey pokey in Indonesian. Okay, I will post this later for everyone. Let me. I think you can all hear. All right. Here we go.
Senangnya hatiku. Tangan kiri ke depan, tangan kiri ke belakang, tangan kiri ke depan, dan lambaikan tanganmu. Menari hoki-hoki dan kepala badanmu. Senangnya hatiku. Kaki kanan ke depan, kaki kanan ke belakang, kaki kanan ke depan, dan ayunkan kakimu. Menari hoki-hoki dan kepala badanmu. Senangnya hatiku. Kaki kiri ke depan, kaki kiri ke belakang, kaki kiri ke depan, dan ayunkan kakimu. Menari hoki-hoki dan kepala badanmu. Senangnya hatiku. Melompatlah ke depan, melompatlah ke belakang, melompatlah ke depan, dan goyangkan dadamu. Menari hoki-hoki dan kepala badanmu. Senangnya hatiku.
Okay. Too much Indonesian hokey pokey. Okay. Very, very lovely. I will post it later. You can all download that to your. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that doesn't become an earworm. All right. Zazen. Hinhin. This will be a long hinhin, a long part of the day where, remember, our practice is work very, very hard just to be still. It has to be hard sometimes. You have places to go and things to do. Here you're sitting and staring at a wall. You're a waste of time. will now recite the meta verses, followed by Zazen. You can make yourself comfortable over here too. I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to show everybody your cake. Well, you said it's from northern Spain. What do you call it? Saval. Oh. Adrian brought us a cake called Saval from northern Spain, which is very similar to a pound cake. I know there are small differences, but do you know the Japanese word for this kind of cake? Castella. It's not the same. You see, this is American. You know, it's kind of the same. No, it's not the same. What is the difference? Castella doesn't have a butter? You learn every day. And Kyonin, do you know the Japanese word for bread? Yeah, pan.
Pan.
Pan, yeah. So I apologize for insulting all of northern Spain this morning. By what part of Spain is it from, particularly? Everywhere in the north, yes, but not the south. Anyway, thank you. You going to sit and recite the metaverses, or stand, or? Okay. Now, this is the part of the day where it gets, you know, I have to get the microphone, a little tricky, because we've been sitting a long time. And Zen is very strange. Every day. Huh? Oh, the monk. Yes, the paper. Let me find it. Every day, the monk's life, pretty much like the day before. You know, 18 years, Dogen gives pretty much the same talk. Oh, it's Buddha's birthday again with the thing and the, you know, the elephant. Everybody's heard this. I think it's, where's the metaverses? The metaverses up here. Yes. You need the metaverse? No. And so this day too, what a strange practice this is. You know, 4 hours you come here. They bicycled, you know, and all the morning to get up early. It's a Saturday. You're busy people. You come here and I've got the, okay, here, I ring the bell. One more time. Look at the wall. Look at that wall. And how crazy is it to do a practice where you come all the way here? Why? What are you looking for? Looking at the wall. It's important to stop sometimes. Yeah. So Dogen, all those years, gave the same talk. Month after month, we recite the metaverses. Very little changes. However, last month, I said, you know, you're really supposed to feel this. So we'll do it, try to do it more as a guided meditation. And it was nice. It was nice, as opposed to just saying the words, maybe talking it through. I don't know if I can recreate that because I didn't really write anything down, but we'll try to do it the same. When you feel anger and you express anger, boy, it really becomes real, doesn't it? It's a real force that affects all the people around you. Well, when you find that grandmotherly mind of kindness that Dogen refers to, it really becomes a force to change you, the people around you, and the world. That's the principle here. So you should really try to find this feeling in you. We begin with ourself, and then a loved one, then a friend, then a stranger, then a difficult person, and all sentient beings. But now I'm going to say something that is going to blow your mind, man. When we chant for ourselves, we're chanting for all sentient beings. When we chant for all sentient beings, we're chanting for ourselves. When we chant for the ugly person or the beautiful person, the person we love and the person that we find hard to love, It's us, and it's all sentient beings. Maybe I should do this in my midnight DJ voice. Did I blow your mind, man? Because it's the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Peace and understanding. What is it called? Do you know that song? Oh, yeah, you're too young. Everybody's too young except a few of us here. Okay. All right. Let's begin. May I, who is everyone, who is the beautiful and the ugly, and they are me, may I be free of suffering, truly free. May I feel safe and still. May I be free of enmity. What's to hate? What's to be threatened by? May I be loving, truly loving. So grateful for all of it, even the difficult, even the beautiful. And kind. May I be healthy. That would be nice. But at ease. Truly at ease in all my ills. May I be at peace. What's to fight? Embracing all conditions. All conditions. Like the mirror mind takes it all in. Embracing all conditions of life. Okay, now for someone we love. It can be more than one person. Somebody wrote me and said, "Can I include my cat? Or my dog?" Yes, you may include pets. I don't think there's a rule book on this, and if there is, I'm throwing it out. Anyway, dogs have Buddha nature too. Maybe we should do for the cats, we should do meow, 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 meow. I told you it's the silly part of the day. Okay. May she be free of suffering. May she feel safe and still. May she be free of enmity. May she be loving, grateful, and kind. Or whatever the closest equivalent for a cat. Don't want to anthropomorphize too much here. May she be healthy and at ease in all her ills. May she be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. And may she be gentle with the birds and the mice. Now for a friend, somebody. Someone asked, does it has to be a living person? Again, I throw out the rule book. No, I guess not. I'm going to remember someone, a friend of mine who passed. And if he's, as Buddhists believe, came back some way, then this will be for him. Or maybe he may be a her now. I don't know. Maybe a cat. No disrespect. Okay. Anyway. May he be free of suffering. Really feel it. May he feel safe and still. May he be free of enmity, hate, enmity, anger. May he be loving, gentle, kind. That's worth repeating. Loving, gentle, kind. May he be healthy and at ease in all his ills. May he be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. Okay. Now for a stranger, someone you barely know, right? You passed them in the 7-Eleven, somebody like that. May she be free of suffering. May she feel safe and still. May she be free of enmity. May she be loving, gentle, and kind. May she be healthy and at ease in all her ills. May she be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. I recited that just as the military helicopters flew over our house. Perhaps I will chant that too for the pilot who's flying that military helicopter that just passed us. Hope he knows peace. Okay. What's next? Is this the difficult person, the hard person? Okay. Got somebody? Nobody? Come on. You really love everybody, man? No hard person in your life? Boy, he's a good Buddhist. Good. Unfortunately, for most of us, it's too easy to think of somebody, something in the world, something in the news. The word we recite, enmity, is related to enemy too easily. Okay. May he be free of suffering. May he feel safe and still. May he be free of enmity. May he be loving, grateful, and kind. May he be healthy and at ease in all his ills. May he be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. And finally, for all sentient beings everywhere, Dogen might include the mountains and the trees, And I take this kind of as a political statement too. Let's imagine, as we're reciting this, let's imagine, what would this planet look like if everybody really did this? Okay, let's pretend for a second we could imagine what the world would look like if, or we can change it to when, we all live this way. May we be free of suffering. May we feel safe, all of us, everywhere, and still. May we all be healthy. Oh, I forgot one. May we all be free of enmity. That's important in this world. May we be loving, gentle, and kind. What would the news on the TV look like that if everybody was living so? May we be healthy and at ease in all our ills. And have good national health care insurance too. I'm going to drop that in since we're getting a little political here too. May we be at peace, embracing all conditions of life. These guys insisted on standing here. I offered, you could just sat down, had your cake. You know what? You don't eat your own cake? Okay. Well, shall we sit a little bit? Just a few more minutes? You can sit anywhere. You can go back. You can sit over here as you wish. All right, let's sit. We will now recite the verse of atonement and the 4 vows. Gotta get all unwound here. 1 second. Could you move the table back up there, Adrian? Where? Over there. Okay.
All harmful words, thoughts, and acts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and mind. Now I atone for them all. To save all sentient beings, all beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to obtain the enlightened way, the way non-attainable, to save all sentient beings, all beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to obtain the enlightened way, a way not attainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to obtain the enlightened way, a way non-attainable.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Onkai, Kyonin, Shingen, Sekshi, Jakuden, and of course the 2 Neils. Now, before you go, I have to let you in the true esoteric meaning of what the Buddha is saying here. He's saying, put your hands in the air like you just don't care. Put your hands in the air like you know that song? You know that song? No? Okay. Maybe American thing. Okay. See you guys around. Have a lovely weekend with someone you love. See you later. Bye.